Over the last few days, we've finally got our first real indication of where the Mandalorian Grogu movie is heading.
This is the way.
Not from a trailer, but from the official description shown at Disney's marketing expo in Shanghai. And while it reads like standard promo on the surface, the details inside suggest this might not be the movie we were all expecting.
Thrawn's return will herald in the re-emergence of our military.
For ages, we've heard this would basically be Mando Season 4 on a big screen, but the new wording hints at a shift. Grogu's role looks bigger, the focus feels different, and the wider Mandoverse plan might be setting up something far greater than a simple Bounty of the Week story. If this holds, it changes how casual audiences are introduced to Din and Grogu and where they slot into the brewing fight with the Imperial Remnants. Let's break down what the descriptions say, what they conveniently leave out, and why this points to a very different movie than the one we all thought we were getting.
You made our jobs a lot easier.
You would have gotten him eventually, I just got there first.
Before we jump in, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Apparently if you click hype, that really helps too. It can get us onto a shiny new leaderboard or something. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's dive in.
Let me get this straight. You want to work for the New Republic?
On a case-by-case basis.
Alright, so The Mandalorian Grogu is going to be the first Star Wars film to hit cinemas since the end of the sequel trilogy. Which means we're looking at what, 6.5 years since The Rise of Skywalker? It's been a long stretch without Star Wars on the big screen. And this movie is meant to be the big return event. Disney's essentially taking their most successful Disney Plus show and moving it into theaters, hoping to turn the Mando brand into something cinematic. Now originally, the word going around was that the script started its life as The Mandalorian Season 4, but with Disney shifting priorities away from streaming and back toward theatrical releases, that storyline has apparently been trimmed into a tighter 2-hour movie.
I think it's a child.
That's why this is arriving before other projects we've all been hearing about for years. The script was ready to go all the way back when the film was first announced in early 2024. And as you'd expect, once something like this is in motion, all kinds of whispers start surfacing online. Some of those sources are more credible than others, but what they've been hinting at could completely change how fans are viewing this film right now. And here's the big question. If the original plan really was to adapt Season 4, then what's been cut, what's been added, and how different is the story we're actually getting? Now, one of the biggest things floating around right now are the rumors about Rotta the Hutt and the bounty hunter Embo. Both characters are pulled straight out of the Clone Wars, and if those leaks are to be believed, they're going to play a big part in this story. The idea is that Rotta, who, is Jabba's son and apparently bulked up since we last saw him, ends up either kidnapped or targeted in some way by Embo. That sets Din and Grogu up to step in.
I told you that was a bad idea.
Working with the New Republic to try and save him. Now on the surface, that sounds like a fun little throwback to the animated show, and it would definitely give general audiences something fresh. But is this really just a side quest with Rotta, or is it hinting at something much bigger happening in the underworld of the galaxy? But yeah, here's the thing, as fun as the whole Rotta and Embo storyline might sound, I don't think that's the full picture. Sure, it'd be a neat way to ease the casual audience into Din and Grogu's world, and if anyone can pull that off, it's Jon Favreau. But when you zoom out and look at where the galaxy is right now, it feels way too small a story to hang an entire theatrical debut on.
Let's see if we can get this thing going once and for all.
Just think, through Ahsoka we've seen Thrawn claw his way back from Peridea, and in The Mandalorian Season 3, the Imperial Remnant made it clear they're regrouping in the shadows. These aren't just villains that disappeared after Endor or Jakku, they've been biding their time, waiting to strike again. And meanwhile, some of the galaxy's strongest heroes in Ahsoka and Sabine are stranded light years away. So, with the New Republic stretched thin and the bad guys gearing up, do we really think Din and Grogu are just going to be chasing down a bounty of the week?
I finally know where I'm taking you, but it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
And this is why I think the newly released description changes everything. If you read between the lines, it hints that their mission might tie directly into the brewing galactic conflict. Could this movie be the moment where Din and Grogu stumble onto the larger war that's coming, maybe even before the New Republic realizes what's going on? And if that's the case, how does Grogu's growing role as both a Mandalorian apprentice now and the apparent heir to the Force factor into it? Now let's get into the actual descriptions, because this is where things really start to take shape. The first one, translated from the Shanghai expo, it's a bit clunky, but when you smooth it out, it basically says a brand new chapter in the galaxy is about to begin. Grogu officially becomes a Mandalorian, dons his Beskar chestplate, and teams up with Din for an interstellar adventure. Now yeah, there's a lot in there too that's just purely marketing speak, like adorable partner or multi-category merchandise, which I won't bore you with, but there's something in there that's hidden and it's really important. They're putting the spotlight firmly on Grogu, not just as Din's sidekick, but by also calling him the heir to the Force and now officially a Mandalorian apprentice.
Looks like we're gonna have to travel the last stretch with the windows down.
That's a huge shift in how Lucasfilm have been branding him, and it raises a question. Is Grogu about to become the central figure of Star Wars moving forward? Anyways, we've then got the second synopsis, which I think is even more telling. It describes a galaxy thrown into lawlessness after Vader's death, with Din meeting Grogu, forming that parent-child bond, and then being hunted by the Imperial Remnant. Now this isn't new information, but given the fact it's written as the movie's official premise, means the Remnant aren't just lurking in the shadows, they're very much front and center here. And if that's true, this isn't just a simple bounty rescue mission, it could be the point where Din and Grogu collide with the larger Imperial plot building across the galaxy.
The New Republic is in complete disarray and we grow strong.
So the question is, how do these two chunks of information fit together? On the one hand, we've got Grogu being positioned as the next face of Star Wars, and on the other hand, the Imperial Remnant are stepping out of the dark. Could this film be trying to juggle both, giving us a soft reintroduction to Din and Grogu, while quietly pulling them into the bigger Thrawn storyline? And if that's the case, then what happens when these two threads finally meet? And so yeah, if you look at how this could all play out, I think Rotta, sitting on territory the Remnant desperately need, is exactly what we've seen before with Jabba, controlling a sector the Empire can't just muscle into without getting their hands dirty. And if Rotta refuses to play ball, well then you hire a bounty hunter to take him out of the picture. That way the Remnants get the territory and nobody traces it back to them. Now on the flip side, Din and Grogu working with the New Republic would be sent to stop that from happening.
I guess we're on our own from here.
It's not just about protecting Rotta, it's about keeping that fragile relationship between the New Republic and the Hutt clan stable. And that's where the twist comes in, because I don't think this is just about a turf war. What if the real plan is to lure Republic forces out, weaken them, and set the stage for a much bigger assault? For me, that immediately raises the bigger question. If Din and Grogu get caught up in this, could they unknowingly be walking into Thrawn's first major move against the galaxy? And how would that change their place in the wider story, from protecting one Hutt to standing on the front lines of a galactic war?
If he is ever to rise from foundling to apprentice, he must learn.
So yeah, the fascinating part is how blind the New Republic could be to all this. We saw in Andor that the Rebellion didn't believe Luthen when he warned them about the Death Star, so why would the New Republic take Ezra's word at face value about Thrawn's return, especially when rumours of undead stormtroopers start entering the mix? To politicians sitting comfortably on Coruscant, that sounds like superstition at best and insanity at the worst. And if that's the case, then by the time the truth finally comes out, it might already be too late.
This report reads like a child's fairy tale. Honestly, are we to believe any of it?
So I guess the real big question now is, are Din and Grogu about to stumble into the Empire's opening gambit without even realizing it? And with Thrawn being the one pulling the strings here, what happens when the galaxy's most unexpected heroes end up being the only ones standing in his way? But yeah, to be honest with you, Rotta and Embo could make for a solid storyline. And with Jon Favreau at the helm, it could be a really fun movie, but it doesn't exactly scream, we're going to be talking about this movie for the next 10 years. Now on its own, it feels a bit small scale for what's supposed to be Star Wars' big theatrical comeback. That said, it does make sense if the goal is to introduce Din and Grogu to a whole new audience. People who don't watch every Disney Plus show or dive into any of the written materials, they just show up when it hits the big screen.
We're pinned down. We need backup.
For them, this could be the perfect way to get invested into these characters. But the thing is, with everything we've seen in The Mandalorian so far, and especially with what's been set up in Ahsoka, it doesn't just feel like this is all the movie will be. And that's where those official descriptions really changed the game. If the Imperial Remnants are front and center, if Grogu's journey as both a Mandalorian apprentice and heir to the Force is being pushed forward, then this could be way bigger than it first appears.
Grogu is my apprentice. He is no longer a foundling.
Like, could this movie be laying the groundwork for an entire trilogy, with this just being the opening act? I've heard that's the plan, and if that is the case, then what looks like a simple bounty hunter rescue mission on the surface could actually be laying the groundwork for something much bigger. The moment that ties Din and Grogu directly into the coming war. And to be honest, if it's true, then we're not just looking at a fun adventure, we're looking at the foundation for the next era of Star Wars on the big screen. Do you think this movie really is about Rotta and Embo, or is it secretly setting up the bigger war going on behind the scenes? As always, drop your thoughts, theories and wilder speculations down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our deep dive into the Empire with our character study of Wolf Yularen. Anyways, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, drop a like point, or whatever it's called, as it apparently really helps, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.